The first Christian emperor of the Roman Empire was Constantine. As emperor, he did a lot of things that, as a Christian, he probably should not have done. Actually, as a human being, he should not have done. But he was aware of them. And it put him into a real dilemma. He believed, but he was afraid not to stop doing things that went against the usual way of doing things. For instance, at one point he didn't have to, but he did have his son killed. He was in open rebellion against him. And you can't, as an emperor, allow your subjects to rise against you. So he had him killed. Now, as a human being, how can a father kill his own son? Constantine was not the first person to face something like this. Read the book of 2 Samuel, and you will find David, having failed to hold one of his sons responsible for raping his half-sister. And as a result of that, all sorts of horrible things happening throughout the kingdom, and war breaking out, and rebellion, and many people being killed. It is terrible when someone who is in a position of power questions whether they can exercise that power, or if they don't exercise that power, what might happen. Do we sin in doing something? Do we sin in not doing something? The fact is that the world is fallen, and that there are times when we are so surrounded by bad choices that it is impossible for us as limited human beings to make any good choice at all. We talk about original sin. That's in part what we mean, that the world is fallen and we're stuck in a fallen world, and we ourselves are fallen. Well, Constantine's solution to this was that he was not going to be baptized for the forgiveness of his sins and officially become a Christian as long as he was emperor. And he put it off and put it off and put off his baptism until he was actually on his deathbed. And his understanding was that he had managed to wait until the very last minute for all of his sin to be wiped away, and then he could die in peace. Now, baptism is a whole different discussion, but one element that he was missing here is the one in the creed that says we believe in the forgiveness of sin. Constantine did believe in the forgiveness of sin. He just didn't think that there would be constant, pun intended, forgiveness of sins. He thought that if we fell into sin following our baptism, then that was it. We believe in forgiveness. We believe that God is constantly, pun again intended, forgiving us. That there's not a day or a moment when there's not something about us that needs to be forgiven. But we also believe that there is more love toward us than there is blame. And that if we can be forgiven, we can also forgive. And on a personal level, Constantine could have forgiven his son. On an official level, he was stuck. But in order to experience forgiveness, we need to be ready and open to sharing forgiveness that we receive. So when a baby is baptized, we promise that we will surround this child with a community of faith and a community of love and a community of forgiveness, so that as the child grows in faith, as well as in every other way, they learn not to be held back by their sin, but how to let God deal with it. Which may mean teaching us not to do things. It's got to mean that. But it also means understanding that we use training wheels until we're ready to really cycle. And I'm grateful for that. For all the people that have forgiven me, and for those I think I've been able to forgive, and for God, who's the source of all of it, and for Jesus, who makes it possible, and for the Spirit that makes it real and keeps us real. I'll see you tomorrow.